If you are a B2B service-based business owner and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Campbell Rapin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers that convert consistently. We'll see you all on the inside. Welcome back. You've heard me say this before a million times, and today is going to be 1,000,001. And that is, it is really hard to reach your destination of creating impact, income, and seeing clients consistently in your business if you don't know the foundations and have a giant understanding of the starting block. We're going to tackle this, the 5 foundations to successful business growth, in today's episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message. I am Campbell Rapin, and I am watching so many businesses struggle to connect to net new client growth, to have confidence that their sales engine and their marketing engine is delivering clients and new revenue, and I sure hope new profit to your bottom line. And business is elegantly simple. And so many people come into my world and say, I just need to know how. And I always say to them, that is the laziest question you're asking. Because truly, how to grow a business isn't complicated. You've got a ton of episodes here on Amplify Your Message that show and answer that question. It isn't a how that's really driving your uncertainty. It is the fact you don't understand the foundations and where to begin. And that stops now at 1,000,001. I tell you that the growth of every business needs 5 foundations. You've heard me talk about the 3 non-negotiables in many episodes here on the platform. And I don't often include 4 and 5, simply for the fact that 4 and 5 are irrelevant if you don't have the first 3 already in place. And right now, in the current economic climate, I'm watching business owner after business owner fall into that high percentage, 45 plus, give or take, that fail in their path to creating impact because they simply don't serve and attract enough clients. So let's help you beat the odds. Business is elegantly simple, and it doesn't matter. I just will call this right out right now, whether you're an emerging entrepreneur and a solopreneur who's working towards your first 6 figures in revenue, or whether you are a 7 or 8-figure business owner who is also looking for client growth. This foundation is like the house of cards. You must build it to have the ability to win long term, regardless of the economy. And here's the thing about foundations. You don't just build them once. If you want to wobble through different economic times and you want to continue to stay ahead of the marketplace and be seen as the must hire, you must constantly revisit these foundations. And that's not sexy. And that's why so many of you, I believe, are skipping right past it. Until today. Because this is your rallying cry to go back to the foundations, to get the 5 foundations evaluated, a state of the nation right now in your business. And where you see problems or erosion, I want you to do 2 things. Number 1, create a plan to fix it ASAP. That might include hiring me as your business mentor. Second thing, you must follow through on that plan, because like a water drop, over time, it will erode the foundations and your business empire will crumble. That I can almost guarantee. Let's start at the beginning. This is the piece that I honestly think I've got a really big soapbox about this. You know how passionately I feel about this, but this is the piece of the puzzle I think is fundamentally missed for most. We do not have an understanding of our buyer, and it's not entirely your fault. But without an understanding, a deep, intimate understanding of what creates movement with your buyer, you cannot create future client growth. Here's why. Marketing has told you, or people in the marketing sphere have told you all about finding client avatars or your ideal client profile. How do you base the information around those two words with current clients? Chances are. Well, guess what? Current clients are not necessarily connected to your future buyer. Wake up! Seriously. It is not connected. They are not necessarily correlated. And if you want to create net new client growth, you want to create a client growth engine, which is what I help my clients do, you need to plan for future clients, which is a buyer. And buyers are a very small set in the marketplace. And what motivates them, drives them, engages, and connects with them is steps earlier in the journey than where you're currently serving. And that is why every business owner I encounter at some point struggles with clients, because they disconnect to the buyer, because they assume too much. They assume that they have the same needs as their current client. Not true. You assume that the language that you hear your current client speak will connect to the future buyer. Not true. You assume that you know what will motivate them because it motivated you when you were a buyer. Unrelated and not necessarily true. Describing a client avatar and using your existing clients to help you write copy, pick storyboards, find your right branding is wise. Kudos to you. High five. It's wise. But it does not help you necessarily with future client growth. Because describing the problem to somebody who doesn't know what they're seeking for in a solution means you are constantly ships passing in the night. And that doesn't help your bottom line. We've had a lot of episodes here on Amplify Your Message, marketing message, about buyers, because it is the single starting block I think mass majority of you are missing. And this is why I spend so much time with it with my clients in the Business Scale Accelerator. Clients are looking for an engine of client growth. They think I have a sales problem. I said, if you have a sales problem, you have a marketing problem. If you have a marketing problem, it's because you don't know who your buyer is. If you know who your buyer is and you have a pattern of movement and the people are engaging with that pattern, and you're not converting, it's because you're not creating value. You're not messaging right. You're not understanding the buyer where they are, your future clients, struggling in the darkness. So the first pillar that everybody needs, not just once to figure out, but to shore up, reconnect, recommit, re-engage, and reevaluate, is what's happening for your future client. Because you have zero chance of making them a client if you cannot connect to them where they are right now. Build an audience of buyers. That's a very simple question, and I get that. There's a reason we don't get it in a 10-minute conversation. It takes iteration. It takes research. It takes evaluating, follow through, and implementation. And it's a skill set that every business I know on the planet who's thriving in every economy has dialed in. Do you? Without it, you don't have a starting block. You have your map and no place to start from. Anytime you stall, anytime you feel like you're in oxygen with your client growth, your net new business, it always starts with the buyer. And if you're not sure how to fix that, come and talk to me. Once you have the buyer, you go to pillar 2, which is understanding the point of movement. Buyers are only 3% of the population on any given day, which means you constantly need to be circulating movement, bringing people towards you. And that is a slower journey than you're giving it credit for, because you're talking at the speed of enlightenment. You're talking about the speed of your current clients. You're talking about the speed with clients potentially who've been with you a long period of time, and they're no longer connected to the speed, confidence, capabilities, and understanding of the buyer in the dark you need to attract. We have the ZMOT, zero moment of truth. The average buyer will research 7 to 12 touch points before they even show up on your radar. Never mind the steps they'll take once they're on your radar. What's your strategy to slow it down? I think one of the biggest challenges we have, especially for the established businesses, is we think the steps are small because we're looking through a different lens, a confidence lens, a lens where we have certainty that there is another step, but your buyer often is taking leaps of faith. And you're not slowing down the touch points to a degree where they can see the next step. And guess what happens? They tumble head forth into it. And chances are, if that chasm's really big, they never climb out of it. And they never become your buyer. But if somebody else throws them a lifeline, you've just lost a golden opportunity. But number 2 is to master your marketing message to create movement. Slowing it down, talking the language, knowing what moves them, knowing what's going to desirably keep them in a hope-focused movement. Pillar number 3. The only time a buyer will see you, the business, as a must-hire is when they see value on the table and value in the eyes of the beholder. So often I see businesses caught because you're trying to justify your own value. You're putting price increases on the table because, well, I had price increases. Who cares? That's not a buyer-driven decision. That's a business-driven decision. You're thinking the only way to create equal revenue is to pass it on. I'm saying stop being so lazy. You can think through creating more value so that you don't pass that on if you were challenged to. You need to understand what your buyer values. It is smaller than you think, and you need to build strategies, communication plans, and confidence that when you are out there planting your seeds of movement, that somebody sees you as credible, capable, and the must-hire choice to help the buyer be guided to the results they seek. If there's no value on the table, there is no money exchanging hands. Nobody will pay you for your time. They will pay you for the result. So when's the last time you really engage with the result a future client is looking for? Not a current client. I mean, yes, expand your current client, add more revenue per client in your current base. But if net new growth is your goal, you need to anticipate what's the value that a future client is seeking right now. Not someday, right now. That is how you convert a buyer in the short term. Once you have these 3 foundations, you get to foundations 4 and 5. 4 and 5 are critical components to win the marathon that is entrepreneurship. If you don't have 4 and 5, you could have a winning season, but not be here in 2 years. That's sometimes the big challenge. Do you have what it takes to be in a slump and come back? Do you have the ability to ride momentum? Do you have the ability to pivot and adjust? Because these foundations, as I said, you don't build them once and forget it. That's dangerous. The market is evolving. Your client today is evolving. Your future client is evolving. And you as the business and how you want to serve, how you want to show up, and your values are always evolving too. This is a moving ecosystem. And if you don't shore up your foundations regularly, the writing's on the wall, my friends. So number 4 is that you must be able to influence people. You're like the center of your ecosystem, and you have stakeholders all around you, and you must influence them all. You must not just simply dictate. You must not simply set direction. This is a two-way street. You have clients that you're influencing, current clients. You have potential buyers that you're influencing, hopefully in a positive direction. You have your peers, That could be an executive, it could be staff, it could be contractors, it could be somebody who's bought into your dream from the inside. You also have external stakeholders, which could be venture capitalists, your bank, it could be peers who joint venture on your behalf. You must always be able to communicate the vision of where you're going with a certainty you know how to start the engine. Because everybody buying into your big business empire dreams needs to see it, and you all need to constantly be tapping around that sphere of influence and ensure that it is congruent, that there's no trust breaks on the table. And influence is a critical part of that. You must build that skill. And the big mistake I see is that you don't influence until you need it. And you want to watch your emotional bank account with the sphere of influence you hold. The fifth and final piece of the foundations every business needs to succeed in the marathon that is business is that you need to watch your bottom line. I think it's really easy for businesses to say, I want more money, I want more revenue, I want top line growth, and they spend themselves bankrupt. I want to know at the end of the day, for every client I serve, for everybody who's listening here on this podcast, I want you to have profit and a bottom line that supports the lifestyle you want. And that's different for the vision and goal for every single one of you. And that's why I always ask, what is it you want to achieve? How will you get there? What are the success measures? And why now? But your bottom line matters, and you get what you measure. If you're a small emerging entrepreneur right now, I said at minimum, you're looking at two things, because the two things predict your revenue over the next 90 days. How many people you're meeting that could be what? The starting block of buyers. And how many offers are you making? That's in the first three foundations, because those three things are key. And then as you start to evolve those first two foundations, you want to watch your conversion rate, which means, are you getting yeses? Are the movements leading to the results? Are you influencing people well? And hopefully we're looking at your overall business sense and saying, is it driving profit for you to have the lifestyle you want in the capacity you want to serve in? These 5 building blocks are not sexy, my friends, but the results they create are. You need to discipline yourself for the marathon that's ahead. And I tell people, I want you to stop giving up on your dreams. I want to stop seeing so many people, 40+% of people have to close their business doors because they cannot figure out the foundations. Buyers, movement, value, influence, and bottom line. And it's hard to see this ecosystem crumble because of neglect. And yet every business owner I know, at some point, myself included, falls out of sync with the buyer. And that's why we always go back to the beginning. Because even if you have a clear roadmap and you have a vision ahead of you, if you don't know how to start and you don't follow through, you don't get there. This isn't sci-fi, this is reality. And so I want to invite you to go back to your foundations. Don't do it with a 50,000 foot view. I want you to go into the deep end. Where are you with those 5 things? How well do you have it dialed in? And is it working? And if it's not, where do the gaps exist? And how will you identify the gap and create an action plan that you follow through on? That is my playground. I love helping business owners connect the dots, get reconnected to the engine that they once started with, and to fire up on all cylinders the path. I will always be asking my clients about these 5 foundations. They're what the Scale Accelerator means to me. You know the foundations. You can communicate it clearly. You can accelerate and choose your speed. You stop what's not working and you accelerate what is. Business growth is elegantly simple. If you found gaps, the invitation is simple. One thing. Find me on ChristineCampbellRapin.com and let's talk about getting the support you need to shore up those foundations, to help teach you to critically think through the decision-making that you need to create success, not just short-term, but the business empire you dream of for the long term. We can do it, and we can do it together. So visit, and I look forward to connecting with you really soon. We'll see you there. That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell Rapin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit christinecampbellrapin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master your marketing message. We'll see you all on our next episode.